Have you ever felt like some people just effortlessly connect with others, building friendships and even influencing those around them in like the most positive way?
Yeah. It's almost like they have a secret sauce, right?
Exactly. Today, we're taking a deep dive into exactly that, the fascinating world of human relations. We're using Mark Reclau's book, How to Become a People Magnet, as our guide.
And our mission here, it isn't about manipulation or, putting on an act.
Right.
It's really about uncovering these timeless principles and practical habits that genuinely empower you to build stronger, more effective relationships.
Yeah, connections that work everywhere, personal life, work life.
Everything in between.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The material we looked at, it hits you immediately with this powerful truth. How much your success and, well, your happiness are tied to just getting along with people.
It's huge.
Reclau even quotes Les Giblin saying that mastering these skills is, get this, 85% of the way down the road to success in any business and about 99% of the way to happiness.
Wow. When you put it like that.
Yeah.
99% of happiness. That's massive.
It really is staggering.
And what's so interesting is, while a lot of the habits we'll talk about might sound like basic common sense.
Yeah, you hear them and think, okay, obviously.
Right. But they're surprisingly uncommon in, actual day-to-day practice. So this deep dive is about uncovering those practical, actionable shifts, small things that can create almost like magical cooperation and appreciation in how you interact with people.
Okay, so let's unpack this foundational bit, first understanding human nature, because that really sets the stage for everything else, doesn't it?
Absolutely. The core truth, as Reclau puts it quite plainly, is that people are 1,000 times more interested in themselves than in you.
Ouch. But probably true.
Well, it isn't meant as a judgment, more like a fundamental observation. It means everyone kind of subconsciously is asking, what's in it for me? Whether they realize it or not.
Right. And if you really internalize that, it leads you straight to the most important topic in any conversation.
Which is
themselves. Think how often we just default to I, me, my.
all the time.
But shifting that language, consciously moving to you and your, it completely flips the focus to their world. And that's where I guess your influence starts to build.
It's tapping into that universal desire, isn't it? People crave recognition. They want to feel important. They just want to be noticed.
Yeah.
The book says great people magnets make everybody feel like they were the most important person in the room.
So how do you actually do that?
Well, it's about listening profoundly, like really giving your full attention. Pausing before you answer shows you actually absorbed what they said.
Instead of just planning your reply while they're talking.
Exactly. Avoid interrupting. Compliment sincerely, but, and this is key, only if it's genuine. Phony compliments backfire. And crucially, use their name often. There's real power in a simple, thank you, Sarah, or that's a great point, John.
Okay, this next part I found really interesting, the power of agreement. It feels almost primal, doesn't it? We just naturally like people who agree with us.
And we instinctively pull back from people who immediately disagree. It's true.
The author asks this really sharp question. Do I want to be right, or do I want to be in peace? That kind of cuts right through it.
It forces a choice, yeah. Because the book strongly advises against arguing, even if you're 100% correct.
Really? Even if you know you're right?
Yep. Reclau argues that nobody ever wins an argument. Both lose. You might win the point, but you lose the connection, the goodwill.
Huh.
There's that Spanish saying, too. If one doesn't want to fight, two won't fight. It means you could just choose not to engage. Keep your peace, keep the relationship.
Okay. And shifting gears a bit, first impressions. They're huge, right? Apparently, people decide if they like you in just a couple of seconds.
That's incredibly fast. Not much time to work with.
No kidding. But what's amazing is the simple power of just smiling. It's not just about looking friendly.
Right. It actually compacts your health, makes you seem more confident.
And people tend to smile back, don't they? Kindness invites kindness.
It usually does. And, making a good impression, it really starts from within.
How so?
Well, there's this idea. You teach people how to treat you by the way you treat yourself.
Okay. So it's about self-worth.
Exactly. Not arrogance, but healthy self-esteem. A sort of quiet confidence. When you value yourself, you naturally approach others with respect, and that sets the tone.
That makes sense. And it loops back to being genuinely interested in them.
Right.
And the things they care about.
The book gives that example, like in Barcelona, Talking about football can open almost any door.
Which is so much easier now with social media and stuff. You can do a quick search before a meeting or even just meeting someone new.
Absolutely. A little homework goes a long way. And to really build that attractive personality, Recklow has this formula. Accept, approve of, appreciate.
Okay, break that down. Accept.
Accept that people aren't perfect. You can't force them to change. Just accept them as they are.
Approve.
Find something, anything, you can genuinely approve of in everyone, even someone difficult. And praise that specific thing sincerely.
And appreciate.
That's about expressing gratitude often. Being on time, that's a big one. Writing thank you notes, remember those.
Barely.
And just generally treating people like they're special because, well, everyone wants to feel that way.
This really reminds me of Dale Carnegie's old idea, the fishing with worms thing.
Classic, yeah.
To catch fish, you use what the fish want, not what you want, like strawberries.
Exactly. To influence people, you have to focus on their wants, their needs. Put yourself in their shoes and show them how your idea helps them get what they want.
It shifts it from you asking for something to you offering something beneficial to them.
Precisely. It becomes a win-win.
Okay, so we have these foundational ideas about human nature. Now, how do we translate that understanding into, actually communicating better? Let's dive into that.
Right. And the first skill, maybe the most critical, is active listening. It's described as something that makes you both smarter and more liked.
Which is funny because, as the book says, most people never listen. We're just waiting to talk.
So true. Active listening means full attention, eye contact, nodding, leaning in slightly.
Asking follow-up questions like, oh, really? And then what happened?
Exactly. Quieting that inner voice that's rehearsing your response. And, crucially, not interrupting. It's a very deliberate, respectful act.
So if listening is that vital, becoming an influencer isn't about trickery, it's about understanding their motivation.
Precisely. And the big mistake is assuming others are motivated by the same things that motivate you.
Which is rarely the case, I guess.
Often not. It requires a real mental shift to step outside your own drivers.
Okay, what about convincing people? Any secrets there?
Well, one powerful technique is social proof. Basically, let others praise you instead of praising yourself.
Testimonials and things.
Exactly. Customer testimonials for a product, happy suppliers for a business, references from former employers for a job. People trust third-party endorsements more.
That makes total sense. The book also had this clever technique for getting a yes, the yes mindset.
Oh yeah, that one's good. You start with a couple of questions that they have to answer yes to. Gets them in an agreeable mode.
Right.
Then you offer choices, but both choices lead to a yes for what you want. Like, do you prefer the red one or the black one? Instead of do you want one?
The author joked he wished he knew that for dating years ago.
Didn't we all? It's a smart little psychological nudge.
What about actions versus words?
Huge emphasis on talk less, do more. Your credibility, even your own self-esteem, takes a hit when your actions don't match your words.
So like actually help your friends move instead of just saying you will.
Exactly. Or quietly donate to charity instead of just talking about how generous you are. It builds real trust and self-respect.
And when disagreements happen, you mentioned not arguing, but what if you really think they're wrong?
It's usually better not to prove them wrong, especially publicly. It's about saving face, preserving dignity.
So what do you say?
The book suggests something like, I might be wrong about this, but maybe we could look at it together. It turns confrontation into collaboration.
That's smooth. I like that.
And underlying all this is authenticity. Be authentic. Be transparent. Be you.
Why is that so important? Isn't it sometimes easier to play a role?
Maybe in the short term. But the book argues that playing roles often comes from low self-esteem, and people sense it. It pushes them away. Being real, even vulnerable, allows for deeper connections. And counterintuitively, people are generally more drawn to authenticity.
Okay, so effective communication.
Yeah.
It really feels like an art. What about people who hate small talk or feel they aren't eloquent enough?
The book kind of reassures you on that. You don't need to be perfect. One of the best ways to start any conversation, get the other person talking about themselves.
Because listening is.
Listening is gold LD. It really is. It opens doors you wouldn't expect.
And the flip side, the big no-no.
The deadly sin in human relations is being totally self-focused. If you want goodwill, if you want business, the conversation has to be about them.
Right. Like that funny story the author told.
Oh, yeah. After talking about himself for 2 hours, he says, enough about me. Let's talk about you. What do you think about my latest book?
It's funny because it's kind of true sometimes, isn't it? We can all fall into that trap.
Easily done.
Okay, so those communication tactics are really practical, but they seem to build on some even more fundamental rules for just better relationships overall.
Definitely. Let's start with gratitude. Just saying thank you.
Simple, but powerful.
Described as a powerful force with tons of benefits, more happiness, optimism, better sleep even, for both people.
And the key is sincerity.
Sincerity, eye contact, and using their name. That personal touch again. Thank you, Peter. It lands differently.
What about messing up? Admitting mistakes.
That's framed as a sign of a strong person. It builds trust instantly, much better than denying, making excuses, or blaming someone else.
Yeah, blame is the worst.
Right. And on the negative side, gossip, called a truly toxic habit.
Why toxic?
Because if you gossip to someone, they'll immediately wonder what you're saying about them when they're not around. It just kills trust.
Makes sense. And judging others.
Stop. People want to be liked and appreciated, not picked apart. The advice is classic.
Yeah.
Walk a mile in their shoes. Remember, everyone's fighting some battle you don't see.
Compassion over critique.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And forgiveness. That's presented as an antidote to bitterness.
Or giving others.
Yes. But the insight is it mainly benefits you. It releases that toxic energy, improves your health. It's about your own well-being.
Okay. What about keeping your word? Promises.
Absolutely fundamental. Trust hinges on reliability. Breaking promises doesn't just hurt your reputation. It chips away at your own self-worth. Makes you feel like you don't matter.
Wow. Hadn't thought of it that way.
And then there's the golden rule. Treat others as you would like others to treat you.
The ultimate basic rule.
Yeah, the Disney World example shows it in action politeness, even when it's busy. And that social media picture of coffee prices based on how politely you ask.
Oh, I saw that. Pay more if you're rude.
It just shows how much we crave simple appreciation.
And speaking of simple things, remembering names.
Called the most significant connection to our identity. It makes people feel seen, feel important. It really does create a bit of magic.
So simple, yet so often forgotten.
And just to hammer it home again, arguments are lose-lose. You can't win an argument.
No.
Even if you're technically right, you damage the relationship.
So the advice is...
Agree if you can, change the subject tactfully, or if someone just wants to fight, sometimes you just got to walk away. Protect your peace.
Okay, these fundamentals are clear, but how do you go beyond just not messing up and actually lead by example, inspire people?
Well, consistent praise and acknowledgement are key. It's not just nice, it's framed as a basic human need. Make it a daily habit.
And kindness. Should that be selective?
No. Universal kindness and respect, even to rude people. The book says they probably need your kindness most.
Like that Disney waiter trick.
Yeah. Getting nicer and nicer to rude customers, it often disarms them completely. It's kind of brilliant.
So influencing people, not direct orders.
People hate direct orders. Subtle influence works better. Ask questions instead of commanding, have you thought about this option? Or, what if we tried this?
Why does that work better?
It encourages their cooperation, sparks their creativity, and crucially lets them feel important, like they have autonomy.
What about believing in people, even if they're, say, underperforming?
Incredibly powerful. Believing in someone's potential can actually help create that potential. It fosters growth.
Like that Goethe quote.
Exactly. If we treat people as they ought to be, we help them become what they are capable of becoming. And the Pygmalion study showed this in classrooms. Teacher expectations influence student performance.
Wow, so belief itself is influential.
It really can be. And the Gandhi sugar story perfectly illustrates leading by example.
Remind me.
He wouldn't advise a mother to get her son off sugar until he had stopped eating sugar himself for a period. You have to embody the change first.
Walk the talk. Got it. What about humility?
Presented as a major strength, not weakness. Humble people are admired, open to ideas. They admit flaws. It's about growth, not pretending you know everything.
Makes sense. And this idea of planting seeds, letting someone else think it was their idea.
Oh, that's a clever one. Let the other person come up with your idea. People just prefer their own ideas.
So you guide them there with questions.
Exactly. Ask questions that lead them to discover the idea you had in mind. Works for clients, family decisions, date nights, anywhere, really.
Sneaky, but effective, I bet. And something super basic, punctuality.
Yep. Just being on time. It's a sign of discipline, respect for their time. That French proverb is brutal. The while we keep a man waiting, he reflects on our shortcomings. Ouch.
Double ouch. Okay, and focusing on strength.
Yeah, selective perception. Focus on people's strength, and you'll start seeing more of them. It improves the whole relationship dynamic. Focus on similarities, too. It fosters agreement.
Okay, leading by example makes sense. But what about those really tough conversations, delivering criticism or negative feedback without blowing things up?
Right. This is tricky territory. The book is blunt. Criticism is useless and even dangerous
Why useless? Sometimes it feels necessary.
because it puts people on the defensive immediately. It breeds resentment, not improvement. Praise and encouragement work far better. And a practical tip, never send an angry email right away. Draft it, wait.
Good advice. So if you have to address something negative,
Call it feedback, not criticism. And follow strict rules. Do it privately. Focus only on the specific behavior, not the person. Don't generalize. You always ask nicely for cooperation, say it once, and friendly, and watch your body language.
wow, lots of rules. It's delicate.
Very. And when handling complaints from others, the best way is to just let the other person do the talking.
Just listen.
Listen profoundly. Ask questions. Repeat their points back to show you get it. Show empathy. Complaints can actually be great resources for future improvements.
Turning a negative into a positive. What about the feedback sandwich? I've heard of that.
Yep. Praise, then the feedback, then more praise. Called miraculous. But the crucial detail is using and, not but.
How does that change it?
You did great on X, but Y needs work. The but cancels the praise. You did great on X, and here's how we can improve on Y together. Totally different feeling. Preserves the positive.
Subtle but important. And saving face.
Hugely important, especially when someone makes a mistake. Help them preserve their dignity. Offer support. Show confidence in them. Don't humiliate them. It actually boosts morale.
Okay. And motivating someone to do something they might not want to?
The goal is to make people feel happy about what you're telling them to do. Don't just order them. Show them the benefit for them.
Frame it as helping them.
Or even helping the team, which reflects well on them. Like, Peter, if you could handle this, it would really make us look great. It connects the task to a positive outcome for them or the group.
What about nonverbal stuff? Body language.
Your body doesn't lie.
Yeah.
It communicates constantly. The book introduces mirroring, subtly matching someone's posture or gestures.
Why do that?
It builds unconscious rapport and trust. Like when you naturally lean in when someone else does during an intense conversation, it signals you're connected, you're in sync.
Interesting. And recognizing individual worth.
Yeah, vital. Avoid competing. Show genuine interest in others' achievements without feeling threatened. Appreciate their worth. That requires a secure mindset.
Right. And if you absolutely must give feedback or criticism, any final tips?
Start by talking about your own mistakes first, especially similar ones you've made. It humbles you and makes the other person way more receptive.
Takes the sting out of it.
It shows you're not judging from on high.
Right. These techniques refine interactions. But what about the daily habits that really multiply your influence over time?
Okay, first, just be nice. The book argues strongly. Good guys do not finish last anymore.
Really? People won't take advantage.
Some might, yes. But the long-term benefits of building strong, positive networks and a good reputation far outweigh that risk. Plus, seeing the greatness in others helps bring it out.
And positivity, being optimistic.
Hugely magnetic. People prefer optimists. And the good news is optimism is a learned habit. It radiates positive energy and focuses on solutions.
And praise, you mentioned it before.
Yes, praise, praise, and praise a lot. Recent studies confirm it. Employees stay longer, perform better with regular praise, go beyond good job, be specific, be sincere. Detail what was good.
First impressions again, still crucial.
Still crucial. That 3-second rule. How you value yourself impacts how others see you. So value yourself, value others, don't trash the competition, keep conversations upbeat.
What about boosting other people's self-esteem?
Absolutely. Self-acceptance is the root of good relations. The book contrasts high self-esteem folks, balanced, tolerant, with low self-esteem ones, often insecure, arrogant, show-offs.
And the advice for dealing with the low self-esteem types.
Be extra nice. Their behavior is often a cry for help, not real malice. Understanding that changes how you react.
That's insightful. And making it look easy. What's that about?
It means recognizing that mastery comes from patience and consistent practice, not just raw talent. Think Michael Jordan, Michael Phelps' relentless work.
So encourage people, don't tell them they're stupid if they struggle.
Exactly. Foster growth through encouragement and belief, not criticism.
What about negative talk? Complaining, teasing.
Eliminate it. Public complaining makes you unattractive. Teasing even if joking, can really damage self-esteem and trust. Sarcasm, too, often lands badly.
It seems so obvious, but just being friendly.
It's often forgotten, but friendliness usually breeds friendliness. It's almost always more effective than anger or aggression.
And the thank you note again, really that powerful.
Called a magical trick. Seriously beneficial for both sender and receiver. Reinforces the connection. Be sincere, be specific about what you're thankful for.
Okay, as we kind of wrap this up, let's touch on some core mindsets that seem to underpin all these habits.
Right. First, spotting false self-esteem. That narcissistic, arrogant kind.
What do you do about that?
Stick with humble people for your close connections. If you encounter the false kind, try to be a role model of genuine, balanced self-worth. Don't get sucked into their drama.
Empathy, putting yourself in their shoes.
Called the key to all human relations. Judging is easy. Understanding takes effort. But it prevents so many arguments before they start.
And sympathy, how's that different?
Sympathy uses phrases like, I don't blame you. If I were you, I'd feel the same way. It validates their feelings, neutralizes anger, builds goodwill. It's incredibly disarming.
What about assumptions?
Don't make assumptions. Huge source of trouble and misunderstanding. We create whole dramas in our heads. The simple fix.
Let me guess. Ask.
Ask, just ask, don't guess.
Okay, this one sounds hard. Don't take anything personally.
It is hard, but crucial. Most of the time it has nothing to do with you. If you get offended, it often reflects your own stuff, your own unhealed wounds.
Like that Wayne Dyer quote.
Perfect. How people treat you is their karma. How you react to it is yours. It gives you back control over your own response.
Which leads to choosing who you spend time with.
Exactly. Stop spending time with the wrong people. You can't click with everyone. Set boundaries. Choose people who support you, motivate you, help you grow. That average of the 5 people you spend most time with, it's real.
Wow, yeah. And perfectionism, good or bad?
Bad. The enemy of good relations. It makes you too sensitive to criticism and constantly disappointed in others because, well, nobody's perfect.
Strive for excellence, not perfection.
Exactly. Perfection doesn't exist. Accepting that is freeing for you and everyone around you.
And finally, procrastination, dealing with problems.
Solve your problems right away. Putting things off just breeds anxiety.
Yeah.
Frame problems as challenges or learning opportunities. Tackling them brings huge relief.
Right. We've covered a lot. We really have navigated a pretty deep dive into how to become a people magnet. So many strategies that could genuinely change how we interact.
For sure. But the real value, the true takeaway, isn't just knowing these ideas. It's about applying them consistently.
Start small.
Yeah, start small. Pick 1 or 2 things that really resonated today and just practice them. This isn't about becoming a people pleaser either. It's about building genuinely better, more influential relationships for your own happiness and success, ultimately.
You know, what's fascinating to think about is even when you feel like you're getting good at this stuff, the world will inevitably throw you a test, right?
Oh, absolutely. A difficult person, a challenging situation.
Yeah, a moment where your patience is just
Right.
gone. And that's when the real deep dive happens, I think. That's when you see if you can actually apply this under pressure.
That's the real test, isn't it?
So the question for you listening is, how will you respond when your newfound skills are put to the test? We really encourage you to reflect on maybe just one habit from today's deep dive, something you can start practicing right now. Keep exploring, keep learning,
And keep connecting.